for the stars. So I strummed that guitar every day, found a passion for music, never went away. I joined a couple bands and played a few shows, tried to impress the girl in the front row. But soon enough, everything starts to change. As you grow up, nobody treats you the same. They try to take your future and make it real safe. You could be a doctor, accountant, or something sane. But yo, whatever happened to the sky was the limit. I fell in love with music, never thought it was a gimmick. I worked so hard on every tune and every single lyric. My whole identity depended on being artistic. Now you wanna strip that away so you feel okay? Cause if I make it to the top, what does that really say? That you shouldn't have given up, that you made the mistake? But if I fail, you feel much better about picking your lane, right? Yeah, things are gonna get better real soon. Yeah, I'ma just do me, you just do you. I swear it's gonna get better real soon. Don't let anyone tell you what you should do. I got a clear view, we're gonna make it soon. Just keep pushing through. You're what you got to lose. You're what you got to lose. You're what you got to lose. Just keep pushing through. Cause what you got to lose, 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 got to lose. I won't give up, I won't back down until the line sinks in underneath the deep ground. I won't give up, I won't back down. There's nobody stopping me except for me now. I won't give up, I won't back down until the line sinks in underneath the deep ground. I won't give up, I won't back down. There's nobody stopping me except for me now.
Yo, how's everybody doing? How's everybody doing tonight? Okay, so let's talk about the Trump stuff and then we'll get into our actual videos. Trump did good tonight. I think it was Trump versus 3 people, and I think that's unfair. If they were going to have the moderators interrupt like that, they should have had one moderator that was pro-Trump and one moderator that was anti-Trump. Just to be honest, having it set up the way that it was very unfair. That being said, I think he won. I think he won easily. Again, I'm not a Trump fan, but I don't see anything that Kamala's bringing that I'm interested in. I think Trump is going to win the election, and I think Trump won this debate. I hate that they're countering him with facts. That's so stupid. If you're going to do that to Trump, you got to do it to Kamala. Whatever. What else? I really do think they got to let the crowds in. Let the crowds react. He's going to win because crowds like him. The crowds like him whether there's a crowd in his audience or not, but the show's more entertaining when there's a crowd. If we're going to watch Nero combat the ocean, if we're going to watch the games, let the games be fun. But anyway, that's it on my commentary on that. Let's get into it. We are going to start off with just a little bit of Dan McKellen. Then we're going to go into Tammy Peterson. I don't want to get too deep into her theology or philosophy. I don't know enough about her, but I know she started doing this stuff. So I want to view a few of her videos, pieces of each of her videos that she's done so far. And then we're going to get right back to my new obsession. What's their name? Base Camp with Simone and Malcolm Collins. We're going to get right back into the video we were doing yesterday. All right, let's start off with some Tammy Peterson. I don't know what video I'm gonna start off with. I know I'm not gonna watch all of them. I just kind of want to see, what do we want to do? Why Mary is so important. Is this faith? Media manipulation. Cell phones. There's a lot here. You know what? Let's start off with something comfortable. Let's start off with her talking to Jonathan Pagwell, very short, and then we'll go to Girls Gone Bible just because that one's been popping up in my feed. Then we'll do Finding Mary, and then we'll do Miracles and Mary. Mind you, I don't want to mess with Tammy too hard on her theology because she came to faith kind of in the same situation that I did, which was through a cancer scare. Now, her cancer scare ended up actually being cancer, and she was on the verge of death. So her miracle is more. I don't want to say the wrong word here, but her miracle is more from the brink of death. My miracle for the cancer thing was that it ended up not being cancer. For the diabetes thing, I got my legs back, so that's a big one for me. But anyway, let's go here with. Let's see, what did I say? What did I say we're going to start with? No, not that one. No, Jonathan Purgwell. There we go. And I don't know if she's going to have. Okay, there we go. Must be nice to start off a a channel with already thousands of viewers. I have two alt channels. I have one secondary channel, one alt channel, and they got nothing. They got 12 and 8 subscribers, respectfully. All right. Anyway, let's do it. We're just gonna watch a little bit. I just want to get a flavor. I'm curious about the woman who Peterson married. I really am.
Again, now we have to look back and notice that it's inserted into the Enlightenment itself, which is that, the Enlightenment says we are free individuals and we have individual rights, and those individual rights, are God-given. At the beginning of the Enlightenment, there are two visions. There's one which is that we're free individuals, what he's saying before criticizing him. And so I think that he gets some things wrong. I think also that one of the things he does, and this is something that Steven Pinker does as well, is that what they do is they take the Enlightenment and then they pick their thinkers, the thinkers that they like in the Enlightenment, and then the thinkers that they don't like in the Enlightenment, they call the counter-Enlightenment. And then the counter-Enlightenment is they just basically trace a line, literally from Kant, which is hilarious, from Kant all the way into the contemporary philosophers in order to trace what they call postmodernism or the anti-Enlightenment thing. And it's the same. It's like of the state and the rules and all of these
Okay,
things
this
are
is
related
mostly
to each
Jonathan
other. And so
Pagwell talking.
you can't just parse it out.
Thomas, yeah, diabetes is very scary. Well, we're finding the next video because this video ended up being a dud. Just to kind of give you a thing. My mother's side is Native American. They're native to the area that we're from. My extended Native American family is in Corpus, but the main is actually from where I'm at, the Rio Grande Valley. Basically, the Spaniards came in and they were like, this place is crap. We're not going to invade it. The Aztecs, the Incas, they all tried to, not the Incas, I'm sorry, the Aztecs and the Mayans both tried to invade this area, and they said, no, it's terrible. One of my favorite quotes is from, I believe it's not Richard Lee. What's his name? The guy who led the South. He got stationed here at a military base. That's still you can still go to the military base, and he said that this place was hell. So a lot of times, everyone down here knows that story, and so a lot of times, when new people come to where I live, we will say like, "Welcome to hell." It's just hot. It's dry. There's this great historian traveler, adventurer who comes through where we live, and he writes of the natives of my ancestors. They do nothing all day but sleep because it's so hot. And when they do hunt, all they do is eat lizards. They have no bread, and they're naked all the time, and for justified reasons because the sun seems to hate them. Ain't that awesome? Yeah. So I live in a very tough place, physically. not like spiritually or anything like that. Just
And so I felt so comfortable. She made
and anyway, so with that kind of ancestry, no history of bread intake. Alcohol in bread destroys my family. Just obliterates them. My grandfather went blind. He was a truck driver on my mother's side. A very different story on my dad's side. On my mother's side, he went blind. He was a truck driver. Diabetes took my grandmother on my mom's side as well. By the time that I was 6, already aunts and cousins had died from diabetes. Um, and the advice of the 70s and 80s was to eat healthy carbs because there's no such thing. But they would tell them that eat healthy carbs and eat less fat. And they would tell them to stay away from overexertion. This is exactly the wrong advice for people with diabetes. And to live an active, healthy lifestyle meant something very different at that time. And yeah, the food portions were really bad, and the advice was really bad. And so my uh, my sister died, I think in '83, and it was that was traumatic for my mom. And then my mother's sister died, my tia Yaya, and that was traumatic for me because I loved my aunt. She was awesome. She was very fun. And then my cousins started getting sick with diabetes. Um, and then my mom, after she had gestational diabetes with my sister, but she was already diabetic. So the pregnancy diabetes never went away and only made everything worse. And so she was sick from there on out. And it was really bad. It was really traumatic for my father. I didn't experience most of that because when she got sick and ended up in the hospital, my cousins were spending a lot of time with me. So for me, it was a fun time. I mean, I knew my mom was sick, but like I was having an interesting life at that point. I lived in a poor neighborhood, a very Hispanic neighborhood. Most people spoke Spanish, um, and my cousins would take care of me, on my mom's side, and I was very close to them. So we'd spend a lot of time in a barrio that was all my cousins. So like my cousins like bought out basically this entire neighborhood, and I'd spend time there, which was fun. And I spent time at home. And then my mom died from diabetes. I actually got snuck into the hospital to see her before she died, which is like this really awesome memory, and this really awesome thing that my dad did for me and for her, obviously. And yeah, my uncle, her brother, took really great interest in me after she died. He tried to guide me. He didn't do a great job. He had his own problems, but diabetes. He was also a car salesman. He was also a philosopher. I took out a lot after him, and but he made bad decisions health wise. He lost his legs, lost his arm, and he was a broken man by the time that he died. He lived on a long time. He was sick for a very long time. And he wouldn't do the work to be healthy. He wouldn't do the exercises. Uh, he wouldn't quit drinking. He wouldn't quit the sugar. So and again, he was getting bad advice anyway. So that happened. And then I would keep getting tested, and I would keep being healthy. I would keep being healthy until I moved back into my house after college. Long after. I lived with a girlfriend for a while, couch surfed, came back, took a night job with a friend who I hadn't seen in a long time, but he hired me to do work for him, work that I had done for other people. He's like, "Hey, can you do that for me?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, I was a consultant, and then I ended up being a full-time employee for him eventually, and moved up in his company until his company went under. And once that happened, my habits had changed from being athletic to being really fat. I got really fat. My dad would bring me donuts and pizza to my door. So I'm 5'7", and I got up to the last time I weighed myself was I was 260, and I was a good 280, maybe even 290 by the time that the diabetes caught up to me. So it took my legs, it took some of my eyesight. I have like a little dead spot in one of my eyes. Yeah, I mean it's a scary disease, dude. It really is. Anyway, let's get back into this.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's good. So I'll ask you those kind of family questions then.
I love it. Oh, yeah. Reading the Bible. So I didn't feel equipped for this at all. It was like a parent that love that I had never felt growing up.
Similar to Ari, I grew up Catholic and I had a mom full of faith. She's the
Now, if I'm not mistaken, these girls are both Protestants, so I'm kind of interested to see what her take on Catholicism is going to be.
most wonderful woman in the world. She loves Jesus. But I grew up as a very rebellious child. I rebelled against my parents and God and teachers and just any sort of authority. I wanted nothing to do with it. And I got to a point and so I was always in and out of my relationship with Jesus. I loved him, but I didn't fear him. Mm-hmm. So the love that I had for him didn't affect the way in which I lived my life at all. I had no awareness of sin. I had no awareness of conviction. I was just like, Jesus loves me and he died for me, and I'm going to do whatever I want because that grace will cover me.
Right.
And I didn't read the Bible. And so I didn't know that, you can't go on living in sin and really call yourself a friend of God. And so when I was,
Hey,
you said
Selah.
something earlier about sin
I haven't
and about
seen
how
you
it
in
will
forever, man.
reappear in your life.
Yeah.
And I think the sin that I even committed as like a teenager, I started drinking when I was 14 years old. It was really normal in the culture that I was in to start drinking at a very young age. Mm-hmm. And so
I started drinking when I was 10, 9 or 10.
And it's funny.
I was in the 5th grade when I started drinking.
Ari grew up in addiction, and then she went the opposite way. I grew up with parents who've never touched a drug in their life and weren't drinkers at all. And alcohol became something that was always a part of my life. It was always, the spirit behind alcohol was always after me. And so when I got into my 20s, I developed severe panic disorder, severe 24 hours a day, Tammy, living in constant fear with no relief all day long. I couldn't of itself in secrecy. And so I get to the point where my drinking is so out of hand that I am now a slave.
I know that there's 3 of you in the chat currently, but right now the views are only showing 0. So if you guys could like comment or something, so you guys, YouTube will recognize you. Maybe we'll promote it to more people if more people are in here.
Slave to alcohol, completely a slave at 23 years old.
Oh, gee.
Just a kid.
Yeah.
So lost. We are. I mean, there is no.
I wouldn't say I was a slave to alcohol or even a slave to sex, although, the sex drive when I was a teenager was insane. But no, I definitely was an alcoholic, and benzos. Wow. Yeah, I was an alcoholic. I started, I guess, because of the death and the bullying. I just started drinking when I was 15. No, when I was 15. That's such a lie. When I was in 5th grade. There we go. That's where the 5th came from. And I would go to school drunk. I remember in 6th or 7th grade, I was so drunk one time that people asked me if I was the same guy, and I told them no, I'm my own evil twin. I love that joke. Nobody got it at the time. But yeah, no, I was a bad alcoholic. And to this to this day, since I've gotten sober, I don't like drinking more than one drink at a time, and I will nurse my drink. For a while I was a salesman, I was hanging out with some people who are heavy drinkers, and it was very easy for them to quote unquote pressure me into drinking too much, and you know. B.S. Lewis says L for America, a W for Kamala. I don't know. I honestly, I thought that Trump won. To be very blunt. And I thought that it's worse that he won than you think, because he wasn't just fighting Kamala. He was fighting three opponents. He had two people on the stage who were against two hosts, two moderators who were against him, and then in the background they were all against him. That's not good optics, because even if he had performed badly, which he didn't, it will make those who appreciate him and like him, which again, I'm not one of those people, like him even more. So, no, there was no winning here. You guys, not you guys, the media need to start having a fair battleground for Trump. Let him have his audience and let him say the stupid thing. Because if he says the stupid thing, now you have some meat to go after instead of this, being so scared that he's gonna cause a riot or something. You just gotta quit being pussies, and you gotta. If you're gonna beat him in an election, you gotta actually beat him. If you keep on doing this pussy shit, you're never gonna beat him, and he's just gonna win the election. Anyway, all right, let's go one more piece, and then we'll go to the next video.
Go up to her. And that's when we...
What kind of dresses?
Wedding dresses.
Wedding dresses.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we met that day. We just there was so much weight to what was going on in that moment that we had no idea. And now we look back. Of course, if I saw a girl crying in the corner, I would go up to her. But I knew, and I...
Yeah. And they're looking at you like, I'm not going anywhere, and they sit by your...
Long term, it starts to work against you.
Yep.
And you to build a dependency in it.
Yeah, and you're not supposed to take it forever.
Yeah.
You're supposed to take it for an acute problem.
Yeah.
And then not take it anymore. And so that was his problem.
I don't care about that. Okay, let's check this out. Let's go to Mary, and then we'll go to Faith Over Darkness. And then from there, we'll get into our usual stuff. We'll do some Dan McKellen. Like I said, Dan McKellen will be after Tammy Peterson.
Contemplation in a Christian context is coming to see the image of God in me.
Look at that.
And then
Look at that.
learning to
Brand
see
new
the image
channel.
of God imprinted in
81,000
all of material
subscribers.
creation.
I have 3 channels, and my largest channel is this one at 1,300.
For me, I think a key moment in my life, generally,
in a material that you make, there can be perfection in a creation, but we're human. We're human, and we change. We live and we die. And so to look for perfection in something that's so integral in change.
The Annunciation.
Well, transitory is the word that I use, but
What the artist is actually doing is both capturing a moment in time, but relating it typologically to other events in scripture that have come before, so that
That's
the
a good
historical
explanation.
event, for example, of the Annunciation, when the
That's
angel
actually a
appears
really
to
good
Mary,
explanation.
right, and says, "Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee." What he's doing is proclaiming, is rejoicing about God's presence in our
I need some
lives, and
Kleenexes.
so we have to.
Hold on, I'll be right back. I'm going to get some Kleenex. I don't know what that gesture was, but yeah. All right, let's keep going.
understand where that message comes from the Old Testament, so that people can understand the significance of what Mary was
I'm gonna
being
mute it.
asked
If I
to
don't mute it,
do.
if I
So
don't
what I've
unmute it,
learned is
someone
that
tell me.
art helps to communicate the typological or the mystagogical aspect of Scripture, which communicates to us not only at the level of history and events, but at the level of our very being. Because the
Okay.
goal of
Yeah, there you go. We got
Christian evangelization, of the proclamation of God's word, is to help us to remember the great mystery that we are children of God, constantly being called back into this relationship. But we're the wayward ones. We're the ones who need to be invited back time and again, and to receive that gift, that
Okay, so I want to be very, very clear. I have not gotten a good picture of what Tammy Peterson believes about anything so far in any of these videos, and we've just skimmed through 3 of them. That being said, this lady, I don't know who she is, but everything she's saying is truth. She has a good understanding of typology and theology. That doesn't mean that she's right. I'm just saying that her understanding is grounded. It's good.
that grace, that invitation, and to go and proclaim it to others. So what I realized was that when I used art, that students grasped once again that yes, of course, Christianity is an historical religion. It's based on facts about things that happen. It has an ethical
I wanna give a
dimension,
like to this
but the
video.
repentance and the remembering is supposed to lead us into this rejoicing about finding ourselves grafted on to the
You got a
body
like
of Christ
from me.
through his mother Mary.
All right.
And it's because we have this
Okay, I'm not getting a
awareness
good
of the
picture
greatness
of-
of our calling.
Let's see. Let's try 2. Let's see. That was this one. Let's try this one. If this one doesn't, she doesn't have a lot to say on this one, we're going to move on. To my friend Dan, who I've never met.
There was a woman, probably in her 70s, who was dressed in
No,
red.
no.
And she was calling down the serpent demon.
Everybody be scared. There was a woman in her 70s. Everybody panic.
Wow.
And so she became possessed and was crawling backward. Basics. I mean, I learned actually quite a lot, but I really began to study the Catholic faith more in earnest in my mid-20s.
So you went to university and you studied theology?
I didn't know. At university at Yale, I studied psychology.
Okay.
When I decided to do my first book about Haiti, and who was dressed in red, and to say, no, I need a path. It so happens that I was raised in a path that has an incredible intellectual tradition, but it was the devotional way.
It's very interesting that Tammy Peterson's super Catholic and promoting Catholic ideas and engaging with Protestants on Catholicism, and Jordan's just there like, I don't want to say where I belong, where I'm at. I don't want to give my opinion.
That got me to stick with Catholicism. It was devotional practices like the Rosary. During the time my father was sick, being able to go to Mass, having the rituals and the liturgy there, because I couldn't formulate my own words for prayer. You know, when your father's about to die, or I had the most agonizing 24 hours trying to get back from Haiti to the U.S.
Just you do things because you can always be led in a direction that's not good. But I was trying to find what was best. But when I was very, very ill, that wasn't my culture. It wasn't enough for me. I had to go, and I didn't think in a rational way. Oh, this isn't enough for me. I need something more. It just happened to me that when I had lost hope, then I was lifted up. I was lifted up, and I knew that God had me in his hands.
Yeah, that's very true.
And I hadn't looked at scripture yet, so I wasn't versed. I wasn't well versed. I'd left the church when I was still a child, yet, and I didn't need to learn all of that for that moment to happen. It just happened because I was.
Yeah, God was there for me without all the theology. Don't get me wrong. I love the theological stuff. I love philosophy. I love arguing with Trent Horn under his channels and his comments. I love it. I enjoy it. One day I hope to be famous for it. I do. I do. I'm not doing this just to waste time. I'm doing it because I believe I'm right and I want my opinions out there. But to be very blunt, it isn't theology or philosophy in the sense that you can use it concerning religion that saved me. It was God. So yeah, correct practices, all of that, none of that mattered. My faith in God pulled me through a very hard time in my life, probably the hardest time I've ever been through. And the absence of obedience to God led me down a very dark path. So, in two very different ways, in two very different instances, God was there for me, even when I didn't deserve it, even when I wasn't playing the game. So, I disagree with people like Tyler Marshall and I remember his name, Timothy Gordon. There we go. And is it Jordan Hall? Hold on, let me look this up. I'm going to look this up because they always get their name wrong. Give me a second. I'm going to finally get this guy's name. Give me a second. We're taking time. This is my channel. I can waste time doing this if I want. This guy's name. Who is this guy? Come on. What is this? And I'm subscribed to this guy's channel, and I haven't seen any content from him. I'm wondering why his content quit showing up. I don't know if it's a YouTube thing or maybe he blocked me. Let's see. It isn't JD Hall. What is this guy's name? Oh, come on. It's his nephew, son-in-law, cousin, whatever the heck person. Oh, crappers. What's this guy's name? Hold on. We're gonna do this. I'm doing this. I'm wasting time doing this because I'm gonna find out what this guy's name is. I type in alpha and omega and I get a girl doing reduced menopause belly with pelvic floor exercises. Okay, that makes sense. That's related. Oh, what's this guy's name? Oh, come on. It's not JD Hall. JD Hall versus? No, not versus. Versus. All right. What is this guy's name? All right, I'm going to keep playing this just because I'm having trouble finding it.
I guess I was in desperate need, and
seriously,
well,
like his videos haven't shown up on my thing
I really
in
do.
a long
I think
time.
it was. I looked at someone who loved me more than I loved myself, and when I saw his love for me, I realized I was worthy. I was worth fighting for, which I never really understood before that, to that depth. So I'm very grateful for being a mother. I don't think that I would have went the extra step to do this.
There we go. Apologia
journey of-
Studios.
So
why are they not
successful
showing
of
up
the
on my
kingdom,
thing
the good
anymore?
news
the
of
way I
kingdom.
did if I hadn't been a
still
mother,
subbed?
because I was grateful
they
for
are.
every day I had after that.
I was
And I wouldn't say I wasn't
unsubbed from
grateful
their
before, but
channel.
I was
I didn't unsub. I was unsubbed from their channel. That's why they haven't been showing up. I hate that YouTube does that every once in a while. Okay, Jeff Durbin. There we go. The guy's name is Jeff Durbin. It's no longer important. I don't remember why I was looking it up. But Jeff Durbin. That's the guy. That's the guy. That's the guy. Okay, let's move on from this. But yeah, Jeff Durbin's wrong. For whatever reason I was saying he was wrong. I just don't remember what that reason was anymore. Let's go back. Seriously, I was unsubbed from that channel. I don't know why. I've been subbed to that forever. I got GoPro. Let's see what the GoPro thing. Here you go. Go watch these guys' channels. I'll help you out. Here, let's go over here. Let's do some Dan McCullen, and then we'll get to my new favorite obsession. Danny boy, Danny boy. Oh, it's gonna be a commercial. I could tell. I could tell by the way it was loading. You got Emiru? Do you see Emiru on there? Hold on. I can't see what you're seeing. Look at Emmy. Oh, you can't see Emmy. Hold on. Look, did my views go up just by me showing that I watched her shorts? What was that? No, don't turn off. Go away. No, I don't need that done right now.
Of the
Okay, Dan. Did Moses really exist, Dan? I say it's possible.
Hey everybody, I'm Dan McClellan. I'm a scholar of the Bible and religion, and the data don't support the plausibility of the existence of Moses or of any of the other characters from.
Okay, I disagree with that. The data doesn't say anything. So if Moses existed, if Noah existed, for that matter, and even if Abraham existed, number one, their names wouldn't be Moses, Noah, and Abraham. Let's get that out of the way. Number two, that an ancestor, that a family group, that a genotype came from Mesopotamia into Cana happened. That a genotype came from Cana into, or Phoenicia, into Egypt happened. That a phenotype went from Egypt into later Canaan and then later into Babylonia happened. That history, mythology, storytelling developed with these travelings happened. So to me, I say it's very likely that a Moses, a Noah, and a Abraham existed. But again, not that their biblical stories or their biblical tradition is the historical accurate account, but it's the theological accurate account of the stories that are told about them. But again, the people who really existed probably had different names, probably existed or looked very different than their depiction in the Hebrew Bible, because these are stories based on stories based on stories. But I do think the initial person, the initial traveler, the initial reason for leaving, the initial family, I do think existed. That's my controversial take. And that controversial take is usually correct.
The Pentateuch, at least not in the way they're represented in the Pentateuch.
No. Don't start agreeing with me, Dan. Don't start agreeing with me. Hold your horses. We are enemies. Dan McKellen, if that's even your real name, which I don't think it is. I don't even think that's a real beard, Dan. I don't even think you have real gray hair. I think you're such a poser, you dye your hair gray just to look more smart, more intelligent, more smart.
The archaeological data in Israel and Palestine, as well as in Egypt, just don't support the story of the Exodus. There's just not a case to make.
That's not true. Again, Dan McKellen. One, I don't think you can do an ollie or a manual or a kickflip. I'm just saying. Two, I can bench more than you. Already, I'm right, you're wrong. Three, you're too tall. I don't know how tall you're all, but I know you're taller than me. Therefore, you're too tall. Four, your views. I'm going to get to a point eventually. hold on. Let's hear. Let's no. Should we hear what he's going to say? Does it matter what he's going to say? No one's going to listen to him. The atheists who are listening to you already think you're right, but they think you're kooky for being a Mormon. The religious people aren't listening to you because you're saying shit like this. The religious people aren't listening to me either, but I don't have a degree, so I also don't have an audience.
That it's plausible that the story of the Exodus happened as described in the book of Exodus. Now, there are some scholars who think that the tradition of the Exodus is the end result of centuries of growth and accretion of
I would be one of those scholars if I was a scholar.
traditions to a historical current. Maybe there was a small-scale escape of some.
I don't think there has to be a small scale escape of some slaves. I think it could be a residual memory of simply the kings being exiled, the Hebrew kings being exiled. That's enough of an ancient memory to develop into the slave narrative, because you're superimposing the narrative of the escape from Babylon into an escape from Egypt. You're constructing and composing the story based on your escape from Babylon, and you're stealing elements. I don't know what I'm going to get to your comment in a minute, Thomas, but that comment bothers me for very legitimate reasons, and we'll get into it in a second. Hold on. Let me finish this little silly rant that I'm on. So they're stealing elements, like I think the Joseph story. I think it's actually an Egyptian story. I don't remember the Egyptian story anymore. I've read it like 3 times. I love the Egyptian version. I just don't remember the story right now or the characters' names. But it's basically the same story of Joseph. The guy gets sold into slavery. He gets accused of doing something he didn't do. He ends up being a good guy. He ends up rising. So you have these stories of these 2 brothers instead of multiple brothers. So I feel like with that connection has to be there for the Hebrew people who are in exile, returning from exile, to steal that story, to steal back that story. You want to put it that way. You want to use Wiccan terminology. But to steal that story or adapt that story from Egypt tradition while they're exiting Babylon, that tradition has to already be part of their culture before they reach Babylon. I know it's complicated because of trade routes and like, oh, well, maybe because of the trade route between Babylon and Egypt, they could have heard the story. I don't think so. I think this is a story that's in their culture already. And so on their return from Babylon, they're recompositing and recontextualizing these Egyptian tales that they think are part of their ancestry. And I think they are. It's just a distant memory that's been clouded, and the narrative, the writing, they recontextualize it to the point where if you're a modern cynic, you don't see the connection.
Enslaved peoples from.
Oh, Thomas, let's fight. I have a cousin. I have a cousin who has red hair, and I was born with red hair. I don't think it's from the Spanish stuff. I think it's from the French stuff. I have a little tiny bit of French in me. I think the red hair is from the French stuff, not from the. It's not. Is it Visigoths? My brain's now fried. It's Visigoth. I'm jumping two subjects way too far apart from each other. Whatever the Goth community that came into, it's not the Orthogoths. Whatever Goth community came to Spain and populated Spain, I don't think they were red-haired. Were they? If they were, send me an article. Like in chat, link me an article so I can learn about that. Because I'm very curious where my natural red hair goes. If I have a kid with my wife, me and my wife are in very, very, very not good terms. If by some miracle we work everything out and we somehow have a baby, somehow it might have red hair, I want to know why. I want to be able to tell my wife a story about how that child has red hair. So if you got a link to the Visigoths having red hair naturally, I want to read it. All right, let's keep going.
Egypt, who traveled to the northern hill country and became part of the land of Israel. That's a possibility, certainly. Some folks think.
No, Dan, I said it first, okay? You're now quoting an uneducated, non-scholar, me, Dan McKellen.
That the Levites were the folks who escaped from Egypt. There are a lot of different ways that people have tried to figure out how this could be historical. But right now, the academic consensus is that the historicity of the story of the Exodus is not a plausibility based on the available data. Now, one other argument that
data can change
should be noted is that some folks think that the name Moses could be supportive of the historicity of some figure named Moses, even if they didn't do the overwhelming majority.
Again, in my opinion, I think these stories are if they're based on real events, which I think they're inspired by, I think there's a seed of truth there. They're so separated out that I don't see the naming convention surviving the transmission of the story. I just don't. You don't have the main Moses character in the Atar-Hasis being the same name, or Moses Noah character in the Atar-Hasis being the same name of Noah. So I don't see that happening. The Jewish writers of the Hebrew Bible constantly change the names from the pagan myth into the Jewish name. The only names they keep even remotely similar are the pagan gods. So I don't see that happening based on my reading. But again, I'm reading a translation. So, I do have a Hebrew. I do have Hebrew back there in not just back here in my head, back there in a different room. I do, but I can't read Hebrew. And also, I learned something new, that the Hebrew naming conventions in the Art Scroll are not the ancient Hebrew naming convention, but are the German Ashkenaz naming convention. I didn't know that. So I'm now very curious. I want a Hebrew. I don't have any money, but I want a Hebrew Bible with the original Jewish, ancient Jewish, whatever the old Hebrew, ancient Hebrew, whatever the extinct version of Hebrew is. I want those names. I want the naming convention for that. I do.
Of what is described in the Exodus tradition, because
there was someone that I don't remember if it was Dr. Kip or if it was Bart was debating or conversating, but it sounded more like an argument about the Old Testament naming convention with Eve and how the church fathers used a different name. I still can't remember the name. I keep on losing it. But anyway, there's a different name for Eve. So it's not just the Ashkenaz Hebrew name for Eve. There's not just Eve in the English Christian translation, but there's another name that was used for a little while. I find all that interesting.
The name Moses sounds like it could be based on a part of ancient Egyptian names, which would mean born of or son of. So the names Ramses and Tutmosis and...
Now, there is a complication here, which is that Egypt at different times ruled the area ruled around the area, I guess I should say, where ancient Israel is or was. So it's kind of a complication, but so did Phoenicia, so did a whole bunch of other groups.
Names like that.
It's like everybody fighting over land that nobody wants. It's really weird. It's a really weird situation. It's not great land. Like the land of milk and honey, if you actually look at the land, it ain't great land. It's a very weird thing. It's like it would be like people fighting over the. I've actually done the math for a story that I wrote. I was recontextualizing origin myths, and I was given an origin myth to my ancestors. Kalichiwan or Kalichu people. And in the story, I was trying to do a parallel with Genesis and with kind of like how that worked. I didn't end up going that route. I ended up going a very different route. But the area of Israel is smaller than the area that I live in. Okay, the area that I live in is called the Rio Grande Valley. If you stretch it out from San Antonio to McAllen or to Brownsville, whatever you want to do for Texas, maybe you can kind of like map it on. But if you turn it sideways and you look at the width of the Rio Grande Valley, but it's so weird because this is land that nobody wants, like our land. This is all dry. This is the great tail. This is the tail of the Great Chihuahua Desert. This is not the tail end of the Great Chihuahua Desert. This is not great land. It would be like people fighting over this land. So it's a very weird thing.
Could be related to the name Moses, but we would expect there to be a theophoric element, a deity's name attached to it, because son of is incomplete. And so the argument goes that Moses' original Egyptian name had the name of an Egyptian god, but because of embarrassment, that was dropped off, leaving just Moses, an incomplete Egyptian name that sounds just fine in Hebrew, particularly if you tell a story that has him named Moses because he was drawn out of the water. So that's what's called a folk etymology or a folk etiology origin story for the name Moses. The problem with that is that that etymology for the name is not widely accepted. There are a number of other proposals that get more attention. So in short, the academic consensus is that the data indicated is historically implausible.
No. Look at all the other words you said before you came to that conclusion. It's not implausible. It's possible, but not likely. But not all implausible. Implausible means what I just said, but implausible has a connotation to it that leans more toward the impossible. And it's not impossible. And I would say it's even likely, which takes it out of the realm of impossibility. Welcome to Word Games. All right, let's move on. Where are we? My stomach's mad at me. That is not my list. Okay, we're going to go to my crazy people that I still think are brother and sister, but they are telling us that they are husband and wife. I still don't believe it. I didn't hit mute, did I? Okay. We're going to watch just a little bit of them. We're going to go just a little bit further. And then... This girl is great. Lady in the Library. I love her stuff. She's very awkward. She used to be friends with Catty-tastic and a few of the other booktubers back when BookTube was actually a thing. Not now that it's kind of like died off and gone to TikTok. Michael Beverly. I don't know if you guys ever heard of this guy. Kemi Peterson. We talked about this last time. Pine Truth Aquinas I don't like, but this guy I love. I love Father Gregory Pine. Rated to Harvest is a great channel if you haven't watched it. This is skateboarding. I really thought that was Jeremy from The Quartering. It's not, but man, it looks just like him. Like a fatter version of him. Okay, there we go. Base camp. Woohoo! I don't know how long we're going to watch this because I got to work out and I got to go to work tomorrow. So let's see how far I go. Whoa, I definitely didn't watch all of that. Where did we leave off? I think we left off over here. See, I've watched all this. Now I got to go back. I don't even remember where we left off. I think we left off right after their opening. Is this their opening? Let's see here. I think we're here.
This is a game that was a flagship title for Sony, all right? This was a game that had $100 to $200 million in development, a large team working on it, and it was in development for over 8 years.
How can something cost that much money?
Consider it like a movie budget or something like that. Now you see me. So Sony had so much faith in this game, they acquired the studio that was making it. They made controllers that were themed to go as a game. They made Sony devices, like what are those called again? PlayStation themed to go as a game. So this game was released about a week ago at this point.
To great fanfare, apparently.
To great non-fanfare, yes. But yes, it right now, concurrently on Steam, has 68 players. The game peaked at 697 concurrent players on Steam.
Oh my God. So to compare though, like what's a normal, like a non, maybe we'll say a boutique game, made by an independent developer. How many concurrent players might they have on Steam?
Okay, what's a game?
Hold on. Let's not mince words, lady, with glasses so you can look smart. Okay? Let's look this up. Let's look this up. Hopefully this doesn't automatically close everything. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Okay, good. And it didn't show it on the screen. We're doing gangbusters today, buddy. Okay, let's go to home. Store. Nope, that's not where I want to be. I don't know why you keep showing me that. Okay, thank you. Top sellers, most played. Let's say top sellers. Okay, so a boutique game. Let's see. You got Warframe. Space Marine. Yeah, that's a boutique game. I'm stuck on a boss on Black Myth Wukong, so there's no way I'm going to play Warhammer anytime soon. Maybe when it's on sale. But I did put it on my wish list. Actually, let me re-verify that it's on my wish list. Yes, it's on. Yeah, it's on my wish list. Go back. No music. Okay, let's see a boutique game. Elden Rings. Rust, maybe? You know what? I know exactly what to look up. Skate XL. That's super boutique, right? Skate and Precision. Let's look up Skate. Skate XL. Let's see how many concurrent players are there. Concurrent players. No, stop the music. Skate XL. Let me see. Concurrent players. Where do I see that? Where do I go to see that? Let me see players. Positive. It's very positive, but where's how many people are playing right now? Oh, there has to be a way to see this. Look, I'm going to show you guys my actual gamer tag because I want you guys to play with me. Okay? It's just my email. And that's on my page. But look, okay, so this is this. How do I see how many current players there are? How do I see? How do I see? Okay, I don't know. Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
You've heard of. That's what I can use. A game from a while ago.
I've heard of Skyrim, Grand Theft Auto,
Okay,
Dead Red Redemption because of South
Skyrim
Park.
came out like a billion years ago. Skyrim concurrently right now has over 2,000 people playing it, and it came out decades ago at this point. At least Red Dead Redemption 2 here. 26,000 players right now. This came out like 5 years ago.
26,000 players. Okay, how about that Harry Potter game that everyone was like, let's cancel it because that was an anti-woke game.
Yeah, okay.
We'll say.
Let's look for something that recently came out like
Okay,
these. Because
current
Yeah,
players.
except
There we
well,
go.
why I like the Harry Potter one was because I know it's still on shelves because we saw it this morning, and two, it was supposed to be a game that people who were woke would not play for political reasons.
Okay, Harry
Just like people who were woke would play Concord for political reasons, theoretically.
Helldivers 2 currently
So this
has
game is
10,000
at
people.
That looked fun. Like I would actually.
23.5 thousand right now.
Okay, and
But
back to Concord. How many concurrent players at its launch?
At its absolute peak, it was at 697.
Oh, Lord!
Pell
Almighty.
World
Okay,
is
now, see,
13,000.
That has the impact I was
So
looking
remember
for. I
the
needed
other
to know.
game I told you, ET sold 2.3 million copies and was a massive flop? Concord sold about 25,000 copies across all platforms. 25,000.
Wow.
We get
So
less
it's
users
sold
than the
about the same
Pet
number
Simulator
of copies as there are
has
concurrent
7,000.
players of Hogwarts Legacy today, even though Hogwarts Legacy came out forever ago.
Yes.
Hogwarts
Wow.
Legacy
Good comparison.
today,
Wow.
currently at the peak of today, had 18,000 people playing, almost 19,000, 18,997. And currently, right now, as we're talking, has 9,276. And I'm replaying it because I got tired of paying for a membership to PSN, so I haven't played it in a while on my PlayStation. So I rebought it for $20 on Steam.
But it wasn't the only instance of something like this happening recently. To just, be confusing here. So another one was a game called Dustborn. Right now I'm actually listening to the game Dustborn. I'm watching a full walkthrough. I was like, I want to see how these people think. It is a game where essentially you play... Oh, sorry, I should note before we go further how woke this other game Concord was. Because I think there's a few important things to note here which hide some of the coverage that people will say.
Okay.
People will say, first I'll just explain the style of the game. It's basically an Overwatch clone. And people will say, well, we have enough Overwatch clones. And it's like, yeah, but the reason you have so many Overwatch clones is because people keep playing them whenever they're released. Right?
No, right now
That's
the
what-
biggest clone is Souls-like. Everything's Souls-like. All right, guys. I think we're gonna stop there for tonight. I wasted time. I was not 100% for this show today. I will admit that, but I hope today was fun. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed being on today. Some point soon, I'll have an episode with a point again. But for now, Thomas, thank you for coming in. B.S. Lewis, thank you for coming in. Sayla, good to see you again, brother. I haven't seen you in forever. To the creepy dude, thank you for being creepy. To the wife of the creepy dude, thank you for marrying this creepy dude and being famous and letting me have this channel. To Tammy Peterson, God bless you, man. God bless you. I only positive things to say about you. And Dan McKellen, I challenge you to a debate on my channel over something important. Which era of X-Men and which era of Wolverine was the best? Real debate, moderated either by your Myth Vision pal or by B.S. Lewis. Real debate, no joke. This is a real challenge to Dan McKellen. Me and you on my channel. I'm an anti-apologetics Catholic on YouTube for 11 years. I've beaten people in debates that are big names. I've talked to your brother in atheism, even though you're a Mormon. Your brother in atheism, Joshua Bowen, and I am challenging you to a debate on my channel. On my channel, it has to be on my channel, Dan. Over, and this is a real debate. This won't be a joke. A real debate over which era of X-Men was the best and which era of Wolverine is the best. Challenge dropped. All right, let's go to the live stream. Everybody have a great night. I hope everybody had fun. We will finish this video at some point. At some point, we will finish the why are woke people not buying woke products by these two weirdos that I'm kind of in love with. And I'm going to keep updating my video. Wait, we can't leave yet. We can't leave yet. I need to leave, but we can't leave yet. We have to watch one more video, at least a portion of it. Hold on. This is super important stuff for anyone who actually watches my stuff. Everyone else is not going to care. I don't care. This is me. This is my own sub promotion. Okay, so you deal with it. Go subscribe to this channel. It needs subscribers. So does my other channel. So does my alt channel needs subscribers, but my second channel needs subscribers. Okay. Here we go. No views. That's a lie. There's at least 8 people that watch this crazy shit. Okay. Look at that handsome guy right there.
I've been every day this week going out on this skateboard. And every time I get on it, the wood cracks. I think it's about to go. This is my neighbor's cat, by the way. It's not mine.
Her name, according to me and my dad, is Princess Daisy.
I like the bones. I like the bearings that are in it. So I'm going to switch these bearings.
I'm going to go do that in a few
4-inch
minutes.
block.
Right there. See that right there? I'm going to go do that in just a few minutes. I had to edit it because I couldn't get the screws off, and I had to switch to a socket and wrench set. I know, embarrassing. I was going to do it just 15 minutes, set up my new board, and I was going to make it like its own little thing, and then I couldn't do it. I'm such a poser. And by the way, the new board rides amazing.
Comments. These are Phantom units. This is a brand from the 90s, I believe.
So I skated in 3 different eras, and none of them was great. I wasn't good in any of them. I'm better now than I was then, if that tells you anything, and I'm 44. I used to love body surfing. I used to love skateboarding, and I used to love BMX bike riding. I didn't know it was called BMX, though. I was just riding my bike. I was just having fun.
I already did one interview.
And that's true. And I looks
It
like I
went
have a
well.
follow-up
I'm gonna
interview
get the
coming
job
up.
that I will apply to another job.
But look at this, look at this, look at
Yes,
this.
better paying job.
The wheels move. I also have a land yachts. I have a land yachts now. It's awesome. The Tony Danza. Okay, hold on. I just want to show you 2 more parts, and then we'll be out. Look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. Look at that, look at that, look at that. And I go. So far, I'm working on my jumps and I'm working on my manuals. Okay, I'm very base. This is not. Don't think I'm doing well. Okay, I'm every day adding 1 minute of skateboarding every day, just like I did with my running way back in the day. Every single day, I'm skateboarding for 1 minute longer until I get to 40 minutes of that. I want to show you the land yachts real quick. Okay, there's the land yachts. Look at that. Look at that. Bam. I love that thing. Yes, I had a little bumpy. I just want to show it where I'm picking. There we go. Look at the board, dude. It looks beautiful. Look at that. Woo. Okay, that's it. Now we can stop. Have a good night, everyone. Talk to you all later. Bye. Let's exit this.
Growing up, parents got me a guitar. Said you could do anything, kid, you could go far. You could be the president, fireman, race cars. The sky's the limit, kid, so shoot for the stars. So I strummed that guitar every day. Found a passion for music, never went away. I joined a couple bands and played a few shows. Tried to impress the girl in the front row. But soon enough, everything starts to change. As you grow up, nobody treats you the same. They try to take your future and make it real safe. You could be a doctor, accountant, or something sane. But yo, whatever happened to the sky was the limit. I fell in love with music, never thought it was a gimmick. I worked so hard on every tune and every single lyric. My whole identity depended on being artistic. Now you wanna strip that away, so you feel okay? Cause if I make it to the top, what does that really say? That you shouldn't have given up, that you made the mistake? But if I fail, you feel much better about picking your lane, right? Yeah, things are gonna get better real soon. Yeah, I'ma just do me, you just do you. I swear it's gonna get better real soon. Don't let anyone tell you what you should do. I got a clear view.